Yeah, here you go. All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm here with a band that has been on the show a few times over the years, and it seems like every time I have you on, there's a few of you who kind of maintain with the group and have been on every episode, but the lineup changes slightly, and you're always doing something interesting. So I think that the best way to start this off is if the three of you who are here want to introduce yourselves and what you do in the Bloodshots, because I think it's a band that's well known to a lot of people in Manitoba, but there's always new listeners who maybe are hearing you for the first time. So just to put a name to the voice. So let's just start with CJ. You're kind of a known quantity on this show and that you've been on the interviews every time. So yeah, start off with you.
Yeah, I'm CJ. I am the front man of the Bloodshots, singer, guitar player.
Cool. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I'm Keith Skozik. I play rhythm guitar mostly and backup vocals here and there.
And you're another longtime member too, right? You've been in the band.
Yes, yeah. Original, yeah.
Yeah, Keith and I have been since day one.
Yeah, and my name's Ben Hodges. I'm the new guy to the band, but I've known these guys for quite a long time. Actually, I used to play in a band called Left of Center, and we would actually team up on a lot of shows and cross paths with the Bloodshots for a while, so I've been a big fan. But I play the drums. I've been with these guys for just over a year now.
And is there anyone else in the band right now, or are you a three-piece at this point?
Well, we had our bass player. He had to kind of bow out because of work. His work schedule was getting a little too demanding. So in the new year, we're going to look at solidifying up a bass position.
Cool.
Yeah,
well, and
we
go ahead. Sorry,
filled in for the big show there already, but it's just temporary. So.
Well, that was kind of what I wanted to get into right away. I mean, I know it's been a few years since I talked to you on the podcast, and then there's been a lot going on, not least of which was a global pandemic kind of throwing a wrench into everything. But you have big news that you've been sort of promoting on social media, and it's happening later this month. So maybe let's just lead off with that. What's going on at the end of the month?
January 25th, we are going down to play the world famous Whisky A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood. There's an Indigenous showcase. It has to do with NAM.
Okay.
And we were asked by a contact that we made last year at the Native American Music Awards down in New York. A guy that we met down there, he reached out and asked if he's like, it's a pretty costly trip, but whatever. We were like, we don't care. It's the whiskey.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, especially for a rock band too, right? I mean, like there's a lot of bands that's going to mean a lot to you, and I think that probably many of your influences would have gone through that club and spent a lot of time there and played some fairly iconic shows there in the past.
Absolutely, yeah. So where a lot of bands cut their teeth.
Totally. So is it just the one show, or are you planning on doing other shows sort of around that date?
Ben, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I've actually reached out to quite a few other venues, and actually we're in talks right now to solidify up with the Viper Room as well, which is another very popular club. We're just in negotiations right now. Haven't confirmed anything quite yet, but I just want to try and get our music to more ears as much as possible while we're down there. I think this is turning out to be it's a trip for both pleasure and business, really, because we love what we do. But we know that we are going to try and talk to as many people as we can, especially at the Expo NAM, and make connections as much as we can. Yeah, it's all about knowing people. I think this is a great opportunity for us.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely. Well, and it's interesting too that you're getting this opportunity through like an Indigenous music setup, because it seems like, especially in Manitoba, there's a huge, obviously, Indigenous population of artists creating music, but it seems like what you do is not really the genre or the sound that dominates. I mean, in that community, in that sort of music scene, in those industry organizations and stuff like that. So this is cool that you have this opportunity to maybe play a venue down there that is more suited to what you do as a band.
Absolutely, yeah. That's kind of one thing that we've run into a few times just in the scene here is, there'd be like an Indigenous whatever show, festival, something, and a lot of the Indigenous music out there is, like maybe more folky or
Well,
a
country's
lot
huge
really
too.
country. It's also very Indigenous culture based. I myself have nothing against the culture or anything. I grew up with it,
Yeah.
powwow dancing, drumming, everything. But I also grew up a major rock and roll fan, right? So I mean, that's where we come from mostly, and I happen to be Indigenous.
And
It's just how it worked out.
sorry, Keith, you just lit up. It looks like you were about to say something.
Oh no!
Okay,
I was just
straight lit up,
laughing.
and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm assuming that then this opportunity is because in some of these other areas, there's got to be Indigenous rock bands and alt rock bands and heavier bands that are sort of more part of those scenes in other parts of North America, right?
Yeah, that's kind of something that me Keith and I discovered when we went, like we said, to those music awards
Yeah,
last year. We were actually shocked at how many how much rock there was there. Like Mickey Free, we met Mickey Free, who had
That was
played
awesome.
guitar for you name it.
yeah.
And it just it showed us that maybe in up here, if we kind of don't fit with this or don't fit with that. When we got down there, we were like, holy man, like it's all over down here, and it this showcase in LA is gonna be a big part in pushing that agenda.
Yeah,
Actually, if I could just add to that
go
just
for it.
quickly, I know that's something that we pay attention to a lot is our streaming stats and just kind of where in the world our music's being played a lot or being streamed a lot, and there is quite a lot of American influence, especially in the California area. But I think our music distribution that we've gotten through our label and kind of the groundwork that CJ and Keith had done for all these years and just trying to get their music to ears has really kind of made a great audience. And I strongly believe because I'm the outsider coming in and walking into the great groundwork that these guys have already done. It's like I'm walking into a good scenario where these guys have already gotten quite a bit of good following.
Yeah,
But we pay attention to that. That's something that we've talked about before as a group is like, hey, where are we getting our best streams from? And now it's great that we get to bring our talent to the Hollywood area where we're actually getting quite a few streams and listens. So it's a best case scenario for us.
well, and you're obviously with technology, you're able to reach out to those fans in those areas as well, and let them know this is happening. Are there challenges to that though? To just being up here and knowing that the show is happening and trying to, because you obviously want those people who are streaming it to come check you out live and get sort of the full experience, right? Is it Are there difficulties with that? I mean, I know it's doable now more than it ever has been, but have you what has that experience been like trying to sort of reach out to those actual fans? Because numbers on a streaming stats is one thing, but then sort of putting a face and a name to those numbers is something entirely different.
Yeah, I think the main thing about that is finding the time to tour and get down there. But then there's also a lot of legalities with the work visa you have to apply for, and there's a lot of obstacles that way, and then you got to kind of make sure it's going to be worth it for you. Your passion goes strong, but you don't want to put yourself in the hole too much by going out there and doing that. But honestly, it's a major goal of ours to set some time aside and just go and tour, and the promoter.
Chances.
Yeah, exactly. And the promoter of this show, Larry Kay from Sarasota, Florida, he had mentioned an interest in turning this show into somewhat of a tour and doing some of the southern states and working up.
Oh, cool.
But in the future, it's just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks so far.
Well, I guess part of it too, right, is going to be you're going to want to see how this goes, and if it goes extremely well, and you get a lot of fan reaction, that could probably help dictate what you're going to do next, as far as getting back down there or touring in that area in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. Big time.
Obviously,
It's like dipping our toes in.
Yeah, yeah. I hope for your sake that it goes well, of course. But assuming it does, assuming like this is a big hit and the show goes over well, and you meet a lot of people who've already been listening to your stuff, and everything's all positive. What is sort of the next step there? I mean, I know you have one album out. You've been releasing singles sort of fairly steadily over the past few years. Do you have any releases coming up or in the works or anything like that to sort of follow this hopeful success?
Yeah, actually, we've kind of been strategic with this whole thing for once, like actually looked at a plan for it business wise. And in November, we had gone into private ear recording, and we recorded 6 songs.
Oh, cool.
In 6 songs, and I think it was 4 days or something. And our plan is to, with the help of our label, put those 6 songs with the 5 singles we have on streaming platforms currently together to have a full length. Okay. And have that out, so that's the main goal, to have something to help push the message.
Yeah, and along with that, we would do, of course, we get some new videos coming out. We get some, try and build up our online platform a little bit. It's been definitely tour. That's always been something that's always come to our brain, and we want to just try and promote this mothership of an album to every ear that we possibly can. That's our 2024 kind of plan for now. It's New Year's. As recording this is New Year's Day, but I'm wanting, that's kind of our big ship that we want to promote for sure.
Cool. Well, and one thing that you guys also do that I think is cool is I've never been to one because I'm like a hermit and I never leave my house unless I'm forced to. But you do those Nirvana shows, and I've always intended to go to one of them. And I mean, I saw some photos from the last one. It looks like it was a big hit, huge crowd. One of your comments on social media was talking about sort of the age range of the audience members, which is really cool. I don't know if I've asked you this before on a previous podcast, but I mean, I love that stuff because I grew up with it. I'm sure you guys have the same experience. What is it about that sound? And that's also very related to the sound that you guys have with your original music too. Is that sort of 90s alt rock, grungy? What is the staying power of that? Why do you think that transcends? I mean, I have a teenage daughter who, was wearing a Ramones shirt today, and she's got a Nirvana hoodie, and you know what I mean. Like that stuff, it just goes generation to generation to generation. Everyone, people don't stop liking it, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think we've been so lucky to like have such good music over the decades that it's like our generation. It's just like there's so much, and it's so different, and it varies. And like you said, one can wear a Ramones shirt and then a Nirvana shirt the next day, and we've been so fortunate to have all these great bands over the decades. So, and Nirvana is just obviously one of all of our favorites as well.
Yeah, it goes with, I think everybody obviously is a byproduct of their influences, right? And that's just when we were coming up as teens, that was the music, and it just helped mold us.
I guess sort of more what I'm getting at though is why has that lasted, whereas a lot of other bands that were at one point you thought they were going to be huge and thought they were going to be listened to forever have kind of dropped by the wayside. I mean, a band like Nirvana seems to be sort of timeless, right? I mean, even though it was very much of a time and place, you can do those shows now to 500 people at the Park Theater or wherever, and you're going to have teenagers in there, and you're going to have dudes in their 50s there, and they're all gonna like it the same. Like, why has maybe that band in particular lasted when times have changed, trends have changed, styles have changed? I mean, it's great that they have, but it's just I wonder what your impression is on why they've sort of stood the test of time.
I think that it had a lot to do with, like, you look at obviously the story of where the music scene was at in the early 90s, and when Nirvana came out and Nevermind blew up, and it just kind of brought the misfits, the losers, the weirdos, the dorks like us. It kind of brought that forward and gave you a voice, and I think a lot of people, no matter what generation you are, you go through your own angst and you go through your own traumas and problems. And when somebody writes music about those things, you relate to it. And I feel like a lot of the music nowadays is not really about anything, or it's just not as passionate as it used to be, I feel. And I think that's one thing rock music needs to get back to.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer, CJ. I was gonna kind of echo that. It really also speaks like an anthem for anybody who's going through lots of emotions. Like, Kurt went through all those motions, and so did Dave, and all those guys, right? And that was kind of their sound also came along with it too. That was grunge at that time, and then it went from grunge to like a punk sound, and they never really wanted to conform to anyone's suggestions, any labels. Kind of, they didn't want to make them too mainstream. They didn't want to they don't want to sound like anybody else. They wanted to be their identity, and I think lots of people thrive on that message. It was so clear at that time, and it still is.
Yeah, that's, I think that's a good answer too. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially because it seems like a lot of artists nowadays are strictly in it for becoming famous. Like, that's, everyone wants to be famous now, right? So that seems like it's the goal rather than the DIY thing, that even though Nirvana was on a major label, they still had that attitude and that kind of aesthetic, even when they were selling millions of copies. So that makes sense for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the best way for people to hear you now? I mean, I know that you have some music out. Like you said, you have more music in the works that people will be able to hear soon. But if someone's hearing you for the first time on this podcast and they want to know more, they want to find out more, hear more of your stuff, what's the best option right now for them to find you online?
Just, your regular streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, whatever else I'm missing. YouTube. We've got a lot of content on YouTube, actually. Some live performances, some interviews, there's a short documentary on there about one song we did. And I think if you just, you look up the Bloodshots on your streaming and you find our ugly mugs on there, just pop it, give it a listen. Keep your eyes peeled to their social media and you come out to a show.
that was sort of the next question, is the social media. That's probably the best way to find out what you're doing as far as upcoming shows and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, we're kind of, I don't know if it's old now or what, but like Instagram has been our go-to. So, and anything on there obviously reposts to Facebook anyway. So I would say our Instagram, the Bloodshots 204.
Yeah, cool. Every time we play a live show, we always try to make the strongest connection with the crowd. So that's definitely, at least in speaking for myself, that's my personal favorite platform you can find us anytime at. So it's always great to just come to a live show, support your music. Yeah, that's the best. That's the best thing for us. Yeah.
Well, and this is maybe a question for the two of you who've been in the band since the beginning. And I mean this the most positive way possible. What has sort of possessed you to keep going with this band? Because it has been a long time and you've been through ups and downs. You've like I said, you've had lineup changes, you've all these things. Why have you stuck with this? What is sort of the driving force behind keeping you going with the Bloodshots?
For me personally, just like, obviously love playing, and you got to do something. You got to, if you have hobbies, you got to and I just love playing, and I'll probably always play, and I love playing in this band, and that's
one thing that Keith and I have always clicked on since day one, is like, we just want to rock and have fun. Sometimes with some past members or whatever, it had got too serious, or some ego problems and such like that. But we always kind of would step back and reassess things to be like, look, like, we got into this because we love it. So let's just find likewise minds, and we're going to do it no matter what, whether we're making something off of it or not. Right. So it's just passion, love for it.
So do you see this 10 years from now, regardless of how things go with the band, you'll still be plugging away?
I do.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah,
awesome. Absolutely.
We're too old to play sports anymore.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I've been doing this for more than 10 years too. I get it. It's you're in too deep now, right?
Too weak and old. Gotta do something.
Yeah. Gotta do the thing you already know how to do. Otherwise, it's too hard to learn new tricks. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. You
Right on.
got it.